Hey everybody, welcome to my workshop. Today we're talking about power drills. Power drills can be confusing if you've never touched one. At the hardware store, they'll probably talk to you about torque settings, chucks and their keys, and the drill's clutch. What the heck is a clutch? Don't worry, in the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what you need to know to use a drill confidently without the techno jargon. I'm going to show you what this machine is, how to use it correctly so that the next time you pick it up, you will feel strong, confident, and proud. Drills are not only for pros. They're for hanging shelves, assembling furniture, or fixing all sorts of things around the house and in the garden. You'll get various types of drills, but today, for beginners like yourself, we will cover the basics of the most common type. This one here, a cordless, battery-operated drill. When you buy one, you will typically get three components: the main drill body, a battery, and a charger unit for the battery. Every manufacturer has various ways to connect the battery to the main drill body. I'm using a Bosch device today, and to connect the battery, slide it in until you hear the click, like this. To disconnect it, push the release button and slide out like this. I have another kind of battery over here. This one is from a Bosch, but a different model. It's a little bit different. So although on the side they both say 18 volts, if I hold them correctly like so, they're actually completely different kinds of batteries. This one doesn't fit into the drill body of this one, and this one doesn't fit into the drill body of that one. There are some other features that this battery has. For example, you can push the little button here to tell you how much charge is in the battery, which this one doesn't have. Also, the charging units are different. This one does not fit in this charging unit at all. This one obviously fits in perfectly. Now that we've covered the batteries, let's move towards the actual device itself. On this particular Bosch power drill, I have 3 rings. The first ring, which turns like this, if you notice, when you turn it, it makes that front section smaller, and if you turn it the other way, larger. That is called the chuck. The second ring that I have over here clicks a bit, so it also has numbers on it. This is the torque selector. I'll explain how that works in a few moments. The final one that doesn't exist on every drill, but it does on this one, is something called the mode selector. This drill can have 3 different mode settings. The first one has a picture of a screw. The second one is a picture of a drilling bit, and the third one is a picture of a hammer. These also turn in different ways. I have to turn it harder. There we go. Like that. And you can select one of the 3 options. Again, I'll explain that later. Moving on, we have the 2 switches that exist on this machine. The first switch is this one on top here. It's the speed switch. So there are 2 speeds. If I move it like that and like that, there's 2 numbers on here, number 1 and a number 2. The 2 is faster and the 1 is slower in this case. We also have a directional switch. Now this is this one in the middle, which if I point this correctly across there, I can move it across one side and the other side. So it will make the chuck turn that way or that way. So if you think of it for screwing in a screw, you either turn clockwise, so you would need this chuck to turn that way, or anti-clockwise to remove the screw. Hence you would flip this across to come backwards and remove the screw for you. So that's how that little switch is used. Finally, we have the trigger. The trigger is the one that everyone probably knows. This one here, when you press it, it starts, you let go, it releases. The nice thing about these battery operated drills, and in some non-battery, so some electric drills, the harder you push, or the harder you press the trigger, the faster it goes. So you can start slowly with a very gentle start, pushing on the trigger, and then all the way to the full maximum will give you the full speed, depending on the speed setting you have here. This drill and the better ones that you buy have got a contoured handle, and in this case, as this is a professional version, it does have a rubber kind of a lining to it, so that I can grip this in an easier way. It won't slip out of my hands. The cheaper models, they come with a hard plastic, which if you really could afford a slightly more expensive model, go for these with the rubber handle and the rubber contoured handle. This little device is used for two things: drilling holes and driving screws. So first we connect our battery, press a trigger to make sure that it's connected. Yes, wonderful. My little device also has a light here which points directly at the slightly forward of the chuck, so that I can see when I'm drilling. I got a little bit of a light. Let me point it that way. First thing I would need for driving a screw is the screw itself. So here we have a screw. And of course, the bit in the front that will fit into the screw head. So if it's a flat or a Phillips type screw. So in this case, I've got the correct bit for this screw head. But this little bit will not fit directly into the machine, into the device. I will need some kind of screwdriver bit set. So this one here is actually what would go in. And then I would take my bit, put it in there, lock it in. Oops, sorry, lock it in so it doesn't come out. And then that is what would drive that screw. Now, I would need to adjust, so I would need to turn this. If it's too small, it won't fit in. If it's too big, it'll be loose. So if I make this too big, it'll be loose, and then we will have big problems. So you need to get it just right and tighten it. There we go. Get it as much as possible to the back of the chuck, and then tighten it, and then you will hear the chuck will click. So click, just normal hand tighten this. You don't need to do too much extra force to get it in. As long as it doesn't come out, you think you're good there, and we can start with drilling the screw in. Now, the other thing you need to notice is that this has to be as straight as possible. So I'm currently sitting down, which is not the recommended way to do any kind of DIY work with machinery. So I'm just sitting down to show you the angles. So you just need to make sure that it's straight, as straight as possible where you are, before you drill something, be it driving screws or drilling a hole. And then of course the direction, which is that little one down here, of which direction you're going to go. So I'm going to be driving the screw forward into my piece of wood that I have here. So I'm just going to check here. Yes, it's turning clockwise so that I'm driving it forward. To change that again, turn it, click this the other way, and now it will be anti-clockwise and clockwise. Right, let's try that. Take the screw, put it to where you want to screw it into the piece of wood, and then, oh, hang on, something called a torque setting. Remember we talked about these little numbers right here, these little numbers that exist. So these numbers are important for many reasons. The first one that you have here, the number, if you set it to number 1 on the top line, so there's my number 1 on the top line there, then if I put a little bit of force on the front here, it'll stop turning. So if I let me take, oh, I made a mistake. I've currently got it on the hammer. So this drill, as you know, has got 3 settings: screw, drill, hammer. So I need to put it on my little drill part, which my screw part, because I'm going to be doing screws. So now this is when these numbers kick in. So if I hold this, see, very little. Let me hold this again. Oh, very little force is required for me to stop this. When I increase this, let's put this to maximum. What's my maximum number here? 20. Now, if I do the same thing, that was very difficult. I cannot stop it at the 20 setting. So I would recommend you start around about the 5 setting, which is a little bit lower, much lower than the 20, but definitely good enough for a simple screw. And let's try with the 5 and see how far the screw will go in. 1, I think, for this kind of wood, for this kind of screw, is a bit too light. It will stop before it even goes too far in. A 5 maybe will take it further in. So I'm going to do this sitting down, which is not recommended, but let's try this for the demonstration. Let's see how far we get here. Oh wow, the 5 actually went quite through. Didn't go right through because I will damage my desk here. But if I switch it to a 1 now, and let's see how much more I can do. It doesn't turn at all with a 1 because it's a very light touch. Okay, so there we go. We have a demonstration of trying to drive a screw in. So now if I flip this switch, I want to remove the screw from the piece of wood. I will flip it to the other side. I'll keep it on 1. Let's see if 1 can do this. I'll put this in there, fits nicely. And then, no, 1's not going to do that. And we put it up to 5 again. There we are on 5. Yes, 5 had enough power and removed it perfectly. Great, so that is driving screws and a little demonstration about the torque setting as well. Next, for holes, so if I remove this now, so I will just undo this bit here. If you tightened the chuck too much, then of course you would really struggle to untighten it. So light touch is perfectly all you need. Now I've got a drill bit here which is made for wood, and I will just make this smaller. It's this way here. Make this as small as possible. You can see, I'm not sure if the camera will show you, but it's coming out now. It's not flush. So I need to make it a bit bigger, put it all the way in. Now if I do put this all the way in, we have this problem where it's touching the black part that turns. It should maximum, the chuck, the front part of the chuck should be a maximum up to there, up to the solid part of the drill bit. So I'm going to put it in, not right away, right to the corner. I think that's not going to hold it well. You put it in about 3/4 of the way in, and then just turn the chuck until it touches nicely. The bit is not too loose, and then tighten. There we go, nice and tight. This is not coming out, and now it's ready. In this drill, again, I will flip this from screw setting to the middle one, which is a drill setting, and then align what I need not to skew either way. Try and get it as straight as possible. Gently, slowly forward. I'm not in the forward position. I will flip this across to the forward position and drill. There we go. Gently in. It's a bit stuck now, so you don't force this out. A nice little trick would be to keep drilling, and as you're drilling, pull the machine out. So if I keep drilling without pushing too hard, I just lift it and it will automatically come out. So I didn't go all the way through, once again, not to damage my desk, but that will give you an idea of how to install your drill bit, align it correctly, slow start, push forward gently, and then to remove it without touching this button here. You can, in the forward position, just keep it going and then remove it gently up in the same angle as you put it in. Let's talk about protection. Firstly, I have been using this machine without gloves, but I think gloves are a good addition to the machine, because then you can actually hold it even better. These are nice gloves. I have an extra layer of protection here, so when I'm here, I grip it better. It kind of feels nicer in your hand, and it gives you more control as well. And also, in case you get something scratches you, chips from the wood come out, it protects your hands as well. And of course, 2 gloves, always better than 1. And the other thing that I highly recommend, especially when drilling in any kind of harder material like metal or the wall itself, are goggles. So these goggles that I have, as you can see, I wear glasses, and so these fit nicely over my glasses. Although they are dirty at the moment, they do fit nicely over my glasses, so I can still see when I'm drilling. I don't need to take my glasses off and have some kind of disadvantage in drilling holes. So I recommend something like this from the hardware store. If you wear glasses, these also work without glasses, obviously, and they fit very nice and tight on you, because if they're too loose while you're drilling, you don't want them to fall off, because for you to catch them and then lose control of the machine, and then you will have accidents happen like that. Finally, I told you about the angles that you need, but what's very important is that you hold the device tightly. It doesn't matter if it's a soft material or if you're drilling into a wall or some kind of metal. You really need to hold the device as tight as you can so that you have total control and then it doesn't slip out of your hand. There are times where the device may shatter like this when it hits something. If you're drilling in a wall and you hit a piece of steel that's inside the wall, or somebody takes your attention away, or something takes your attention away from where you're focused, and then you may do that, and you really need to make sure that you hold it tight every time that you're drilling into anything. This also goes for the in and when you're removing it whilst drilling out. I've got over here a little selection of bits, which I will zoom in so that you can see these a little bit better. But they are different kind of bits for different kinds of material. So the one that I showed you here earlier, this is a wood bit. is a slightly different, like a nib of a little pointy section to it. A different kind of wood bit would be something like this. This is very obvious that it's a very pointy bit, which then becomes wider. So this is a very wide, what is this? I cannot see. It's a 20, it's basically 2 centimeters, so 20 millimeters bit. And then you would move towards a steel bit. So this bit here, very difficult to see the difference at a distance, but I will zoom in. You have a steel bit, has to be sharp, right? So these bits have to be sharp when you're using them, and this will be used for steel. And then second last bill is for concrete, what we call concrete here. This has got an extra kind of protection on the front there, so that when you're drilling in concrete, and for that you would need the hammer setting over here. So that's the hammer setting over there. So when you're drilling in concrete, you set that to hammer, put the torque on completely the fullest, the highest setting that you have on your bit, and then you would use on your drilling machine, hammer, highest torque setting, put this into the clutch, and away you go, holding it extremely tightly as you can, so that if something does go wrong, you will be ready for it. So that's for that one. And finally, we have a little bit of a special drill bit. This is for tiles. So if you need to make a hole in a tile for the kitchen or the bathroom, this is the bit that you need. And it's a bit of a special bit. Looks like in one of those arrows from Robin Hood movies. But those are also made specifically for tiles. If you use any of the other kinds of bits for the other things, it may work, but then you will damage either the bit itself or the material that you're drilling into that you don't want to. So let's move to tips now. So correct bit size. It's probably the biggest tip I can give you is start small. So if you need to drill a hole for, I don't know, the screw that I had earlier, I don't know, the screws may be this big, start with a small hole and then move up. If the screw doesn't fit, try a bigger and then a bigger bit. So have a few bits in your arsenal so that you can expand to the right size that you need. It also makes drilling easier. So if I have to take a very big bit and try and drill into this here, it's not going to be as easy than if I start with a small one. I've already made a small hole, which obviously is easier to use, easier to drill, less friction on the top here. And then I move to the bigger size then eventually to the correct size that I need. Practice. So if you're at a new material, so for example, here I got a piece of old wood that I'm practicing just to make sure that I've got a good feel for it. Take a piece of wood, take a drill bit, maybe to get a feel for how the bits change. Make sure that you've secured this wood correctly and very tightly in some kind of vise or some kind of maybe you can put it on the floor and stand on it. That's another way to secure a piece of wood. So make sure that you've got this material secured, and then you take the machine, the drill machine, and then you practice different things and to get a feel for not only the material, but also for how this works. So try it maybe with a faster setting and see what does the faster setting do as compared to my slower setting? How does that impact what I'm doing here? And finally, the kinds of materials are obviously wood would be soft. Brick is a harder material. So if you have a brick wall, it's a harder material. And a nice tip here is that millimeter accuracy on brick, and sometimes even these kind of bricks behind me, these are the concrete bricks, it's not possible to get millimeter accuracy. So if the wife says, I'd like my curtain rail between there and there, you drill the holes, you put the curtain rail on, she goes, could you move it just, I don't know, 2 millimeters to the left? That's not going to be possible, right? So you have to find a different way for brick and for the concrete to adjust that millimeter accuracy. Curtain rails, for example, do come with some kind of small adjustments that you can do left and right, up and down, depending on that. But for the holes themselves, you will not be able to adjust to a millimeter accuracy. Then we have steel. So steel, if you have a piece of steel and you need to use your steel bit in the machine, the tips I can give you there is, again, torque has to be at full. You do not use hammer. You would put it on your normal drilling section. The speed would need to be at full speed. So the highest speed that your machine can do, that your drilling machine can do. Your bits need to be extremely sharp. So if you can go to the hardware store and buy a bit now, that would be the sharpest it would ever be. You need to use that exact sharp bit, as sharp as possible, to drill into steel. And you need patience. Steel requires patience. So as soon as you get this, set all your settings correctly, you put it onto your steel, and then you start slowly, and then continue. You would need to it takes a while, and obviously because it's a drilling bit onto a piece of steel, friction would cause a lot of heat. So there's a lot of heat, so be careful. The bit will be hot, and the material, the steel, will be hot as well. And finally, tiles. I think, as I said earlier, even with your special bit, you start slowly, and it's something that I highly recommend you do not practice directly onto the final wall that you need to drill your hole in. If you have a tile on the side, put it on the floor, put it on something, secure it well, and practice with one of your bits that you have into that tile. You wouldn't push too hard, but at some point you will need to increase the force that you're pushing. Again, not on hammer, but on the drilling section here, and you put the torque on full torque there. The more you practice, the easier it'll get for you, and you will feel a lot more confident. You can move maybe from wood to steel, maybe a small piece of steel. Once again, make sure that they are secured so that you don't have any accidents. Wear gloves and protection for your eyes, depending on the material and how it is. And then, of course, the actual position. So currently I'm sitting, which is the worst thing to do for when you're using the machinery. So if you're going to be drilling, I would recommend chest height would be the drill. So if you're drilling like this, chest height, if you like this, you would make sure that it's above you so that you have force behind the drill and you can control the device as much as possible. Some people I've seen, they do this, or they do it like this. You've lost your control at these angles and at this height. Above your head is not recommended unless you have a very good feel for the device. And of course, below you, when you're holding it down there, unless for some reason you really need to, you need to be extra careful for those positions above your head and below your belly, because those are very difficult to control, and these can jitter and really damage your hand. The bits can break. Something I didn't say, the bits can break as well, and then you're going to have big problems at that point. Right, mistakes that some people make. The first thing maybe a beginner will make is that you straight away hit the little trigger button and go for it. No, you should start slowly. So you make sure that you've angled it correctly as you need it, and then you start slowly. Always start slowly, and then push a little harder as you need to, and then you'll feel confident in that. Right, so I hope you enjoyed this. I'm trying my best to increase my DIY series. This is my first video, and if you have picked up any kind of tips, it would be great if you would subscribe and let me know anything you'd like me to cover in my DIY episodes. I have a lot of tools that I can definitely put more episodes out there on how to use them, or maybe what tools I have. I'll try and think of some episodes that you'd like to watch. Thank you for watching, and happy drilling.